A very, very good afternoon. Hope you managed to catch the interview I did this morning with TNT Radio. Thank you very much to James for having me on and giving me the opportunity to share what's happening in Oldham. The more people know about it, the better it is. And of course, those of you who watch his station will know that Tommy Robinson was on last week. So I'm very grateful that TNT got in touch with me to give our perspective of how this isn't some, just the way Mr. Robinson frames it. We are very clear what's going on in Oldham, and that these are politically motivated cover-ups, and these cover-ups are designed to protect powerful individuals, including leading members of the Labour Party. We are somewhere else on this journey, and we are further along on this journey than I would say anyone else is anywhere else anywhere in this country. So thank you very, very much for to James and his team for allowing me to have some time with his international audience. Now I am due to go and do something else this afternoon with a former soldier who got in touch with me. So I promised, on the basis that it's a former soldier, I think I needed to support him, so I'm going and doing an interview with him. I think it's at 1:15. But what I wanted to share with you whilst I'm here is this. So tomorrow's MP is run by a guy called Michael Crick. You should follow him if you want to understand some politics and nuances of what's going on. But what he's come out with is that is coming up with a shortlist of he's coming up with the Labour Party movers and shakers who are interested in Rochdale. So these are the movers and shakers who are interested in Tony Lloyd's seat. The nominations, the selection is on Wednesday. So the actual, the Labour Party decides who its shortlisted candidates is. So a panel meets all the applicants that make it to an interviews them on Wednesday, and then it decides who these candidates are. That then goes to basically a vote of the members on the Saturday. So that's the timeline. We'll know by Saturday who the MP Labour Party candidate will be in Rochdale, and the by-election, of course, will be called, I think, based upon the timeline of now it's the middle of January. I think what they will try and do is push it to tie in with the May local elections. I think that's what they'll try and do, is to push it to tie in with the May local elections. So there's a good 3 months or so, I think, from when they select their candidate to the election taking place. What will take place, of course, is from an outsider looking in, we need to see, this is the first test in a Rochdale very strong Muslim voter base, and you'll see after candidates that's how it plays out. Whether the Gaza issue will impact on Labour at the polling station, at the ballot box. So that's the first thing to look out for. The second thing to look out for is to see whether the Conservatives put up a candidate, what sort of candidate the Conservatives put up, and whether Reform put up a candidate and they split the vote accordingly. I've been very clear. I'm trying to reach out to Reform. I've been very clear. Please stay out of our way in Oldham. We want a clear run at this, and if Reform care in any way about holding to account and delivering justice for all of our children who've been victims of grooming and gang rape, and if we get it over the line in Oldham, we'll get it over the line across the country, I'm absolutely sure. So what I'm hoping is Reform sees some sense when it comes to Oldham, but a by-election here for me is very, very useful, because it'd be useful because the voter demographics and the way it falls, the way it plays out in Rochdale will be very similar, I think, to the way it plays out in Oldham. So some things to look out for is the split in the Muslim vote, and whether Labour can maintain its vote, and whether an independent pro-Gaza sort of candidate comes forward. So let's have a look. Rochdale candidates. It does it in a strange way, this Paula. It's not worked out, friends. It's clear that let me make this bigger so we can see it. Hopefully I can make it bigger. Can I make it? Can I zoom? Give me a second. No, it's not letting me zoom. You can see that. So the application for Labour candidates for forthcoming by-election last week expected to open today. It's told that the shortlist will be on Wednesday and the selection meeting is this Saturday. Who are to be the likely contenders? The speculation that the political journalist Paul Waugh, currently with the I paper, could be Starmer's favoured candidate to stand up for Labour in forthcoming by-election following death of Tony Lloyd. So he wants a white guy from this newspaper, according to this, is Keir Starmer's preferred candidate. And the reason why is it could deflect attacks on Rochdale Labour over failings over child sex abuse and grooming gangs. Because Waugh's own reporting helped to expose former Liberal MP Cyril Smith. Well, expose former MP Liberal Cyril Smith after he died is the relevant bit, I think. But you can see straight away they are deeply concerned about the impact of the grooming gangs. So deeply concerned about the impact of the grooming gangs. The candidates that they think are going to be on the shortlist are as follows. Azhar Ali, who was a Lancashire councillor, who finished fourth in the Hayward and Middleton selection. So Azhar Ali fancies himself as an MP and wants to be an MP. There's a Rochdale councillor called Dalat Ali. And then we have, can you see his name there? We have Dr. Zahid Chauhan, Oldham councillor and GP. I shared with you last week, I think, almost as soon as Tony Lloyd died and before, that Dr. Chauhan had aspirations to become MP. And it seems that the Oldham mayor is considering standing for MP in Rochdale. What will be interesting is whether Dr. Chauhan makes the shortlist. I'd be very interested to see if Dr. Chauhan makes the shortlist, because if he makes the shortlist, Labour are opening themselves up to a can of worms of linking Oldham and Rochdale again together. And they know, Starmer and his team know what we will do. We've also got Yasmin Dar. Now, Yasmin Dar is a friend of mine. I've known her for a long time. She is very pro-Palestinian, by the way. Very pro-Palestinian, has been long before Gaza. And I know her because she runs a charity, or her and her family run a charity called Youth on Solid Ground in Manchester that I helped set up probably about 15 years ago or so. They do very well, do lots of work with children and young people using sports across Manchester. She's currently the mayor of Manchester, so it'd be interesting to see if Yasmin Dar does come forward. If Yasmin Dar does come forward, then I also expect, and you can see in the list further along, a man called Lutfur Rahman. Lutfur Rahman is the Manchester City Council deputy leader at this moment in time. I also know Lutfur, and to give Lutfur some credit, when he comes to Oldham to events and he sees me, he'll always come over and say hello to me, despite whatever the Labour Party policies are. No, Jack, he cannot be mayor and MP at the same time. So what will happen was, if he gets elected to be MP, he'll have to stand down. But by the time the elections come out, Jack, which is May, his mayoral term will be over anyway. Okay, he'll just have to stand down as councillor, which would mean that if he was to become the official Labour Party candidate in Rochdale, he would have to do one of two things. He'd have to either stand down as an Oldham councillor and allow the election in Oldham to take place in Alexander for two councillors to be elected at the same time, or he'll continue to be a councillor in Oldham, hoping that he gets elected to be an MP in Rochdale. Then he'll stand down as a councillor in Oldham and force the people of Oldham to pay for another by-election in Alexander. So that'd be interesting to see what Dr. Chauhan does if he gets the nomination. Okay, so you've got Lutfur, you've got Furkan Naeem, who's a campaigner, you know, Eamon O'Brien, the Bury Council leader. So that's who we've got so far. So what I'm trying to make sense of is, you can see from the shortlist, you've got a strong Pakistani contingent of candidates, prospective candidates, including the Oldham Mayor, Dr. Zahid Chauhan. You've got the current mayor in Manchester, Yasmin Dar. You've got the deputy leader of Manchester Council, who's a Bangladeshi, by the way, Lutfur Rahman. And you've got some Labour Party politicians in Rochdale who also fancy the gig. So that is what's come back so far. Lutfur Rahman and Dala Ali are definitely applying. Another one, Tanweer Khan, who tried for Pendle and Clitheroe last autumn, is considering it. Rochdale is the 111th safest seat for the Labour Party. And I think my own thoughts are, I'm genuinely interested to see who the shortlist is. Because what they did in Oldham East and Saddleworth when there was a by-election, what they did in Oldham East and Saddleworth when there was a by-election, excuse me, I'll just bring the Rochdale councillors breakdown up. And that's Dalat Ali, for those who need to, who don't know him. So that's who he is. He's the deputy leader and portfolio holder for health. So he's a heavyweight. He's a Rochdale heavyweight. So he's the one who fancies it from the sort of Rochdale Pakistani establishment is who is him. Now, what is taking place what took place in Oldham East and Saddleworth was, when they did the shortlist, when Labour did the shortlist, they knew that in order for the white candidate to win, which was Debbie Abrams that they brought in, which was the plan all along, by the way, they would have to split the Asian vote. And they split the Asian vote by putting up Abdul Jabbar, the Bangladeshi candidate, and I think it was Riaz Ahmed, the Pakistani candidate. So the Muslim vote was split and the white candidate came through the middle. So it'd be interesting to see if Labour apply the same tactics again and have a white candidate and two Asian candidates selected, knowing beforehand that they'd split the Asian vote. So if that happens, Labour are continuing to play divide and rule, colonial style racist politics in these northern mill towns. So let's see what happens there. Now, in terms of the Rochdale breakdown of councillors, for those of you who are unfamiliar, in many ways it's similar to Oldham. There's 60 councillors, and you can see there's a strong contingent of Asian councillors, and the Asian councillors tend to be in the Asian dominated wards. Yep, you can see. And what's also interesting in terms, is similar in terms of Rochdale, is the election results. In 2019, Labour held comfortably, give or take a 10,000 majority. Man's majority, I think, was 12,500, 13,000 majority, turnout of 60%. And you can see what happened. Tony Lloyd got 24,500 votes. Atifa Shah, the Conservative candidate, so there was a Pakistani split there, with the aid of the Conservative voter base from some of the rural areas of Rochdale constituency, got best part of 15,000, so she was 9,000 out. You can see the Brexit Party, who aren't here this time, but if Reform stand, there's another 4,000 votes there. So it'd be interesting if the Conservatives could put up a candidate without interference from Reform, and the candidate was Asian, the Asian vote would be split, and it'd be interesting to see who wins. So it's something to watch out for. Something to watch out for. So the shortlisting is on Wednesday. I thought you'd want to all know about it. I'll tell you if Dr. Chauhan makes the shortlist, and then the selection is on Saturday. Now, my position on all of this is simple. I have no issue with Dr. Chauhan standing or wanting to become MP. I think it's problematic in many ways that the potential shortlist looks like it's full of candidates who will be in some way not incriminated is the wrong word, tarred with the grooming gang cover-up in Rochdale and Oldham and Manchester. I've got 2 Manchester councillors, remember, who are standing here. Got at least 1 Oldham councillor and some Rochdale politicians, so much so that the Labour Party, according to this Twitter page, the Labour Party are considering putting up a campaigner hoping that his history in bringing to light the crimes that Cyril Smith committed will distance themselves from the grooming gang cover-up. Now, unfortunately for them, the grooming gang cover-up were racially motivated crimes, and the grooming gang cover-up involved white working class girls specifically, with a whole host of, in terms of the Rochdale grooming gang, most definitely Pakistani men. None of these politicians have come out, none of the Asian ones that I know of anyway, have come out and condemned what's took place. And the Oldham link, again I'll give you the Oldham link, is that Dr. Chauhan, whilst a councillor, voted to block calls for a public inquiry. And those of you who listened to me last night and listened to Maggie Oliver last week will know that Maggie Oliver has now come out explicitly and confirmed that the assurance review into Oldham was a cover-up. So the prism in which this election will be fought, I think, will be, 1, the Gaza issue, and to see whether these candidates, if an Asian candidate gets selected, if they can hold up the Muslim vote, despite what's going on in Gaza. It will be fought through the lens of the grooming gang cover-up. Now, I don't think the Muslim vote will care about that, but I think the white working class traditional Labour vote will most definitely care about that. And it will also be played out through the prism of what Reform does and what sort of an impact it has at this by-election. Thank you very, very much for joining me for this very impromptu transmission of forms. Please do go out and find that TNT interview. I did TNT live, and see what you thought of it. I'm now off to do another interview. If you find value in my work, there is always this. There's always, and I just put this out for free. There's always this. buymeacoffee.com/Recusant9, or subscribe to the transmissions. Subscribe to Red Wall and the Rabble. Following last night's conversation with members, my aspiration is if we can get to 250 signed up paid members at 75 pence a week. That's all, 75 pence a week. Then I'll put all my work out for free, because I know, and you know, I think by now, that if I don't do this, then this will just end. This resistance to what's going on will just end. We'll just lose, and that'll be the end of it, I think. Unless you believe putting pictures of bollards on Facebook pages is going to help you take back control of your town. Very good afternoon to you all. Speak to you soon. Take care. Bye.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011 he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.